Hi everyone, I'm Venom 2 Million, and I don't have much time, but I'm going to make this video. Try to make it as short as it possibly can, but it's going to be lengthy. We're talking about Spider-Man PS4, my full review. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you know that I am very critical of Spider-Man PS4. I've been very critical of it because I am a huge Spider-Man fan. I'm one of the largest Spider-Man fans that I think you'll probably find on this website. But with that fandom, with my love for this character, I'm not blind at all. I'm very critical because I want the best for this character. I look at games like Uncharted and Grand Theft Auto and these other games that are at this high caliber, and I want that same quality for my favorite character. Other people put up with generic things or whatever. I speak out on it, and that pisses people off, especially the fanboys. But with that being said, we're going to talk about my full review of this game. This is not going to be edited. I have bullet points so I can stay on track. And I have a time limit. So, yeah, let's get started with the gameplay. Again, this is not edited because I want to just speak to you. I just want to speak because I have a lot of feelings about this game, and I really want to talk about it. So, starting with the gameplay, that fighting, y'all. First of all, I talked about this in my first impressions. There's this sense of weakness with Spider-Man that I kept getting, and I continue to get even when I leveled him up. When you play the Batman Arkham series, when Batman punches the mess out of somebody, he punches the mess out of them. It's like they don't die, they don't fall down on one hit, you know. And when I said that, some people were like, "Well, Venom, you want the game to be super easy?" No, I don't want the game to be super easy. It's just there's this sense of weight that I don't feel when I'm Spider-Man, when I'm kicking and hitting people. It's like they're like eating it. And it's not even the fact that it takes so many hits for them to go down. It's just it looks weaker. And I get Spider-Man's pulling his punches, but Batman's punch shouldn't look like a boom, and Spider-Man's look like a, you know, it shouldn't look like that. There should have a sense of weight, like the people should react boom, and like Batman, it's the sound effect, it's their reaction, and I just didn't get a lot of that, and especially when Spider-Man is like throwing trash cans and stuff at people, like they fall down. I don't know, maybe with that it's that they get up too quickly, I don't know, but when you're throwing a trash can or a sewer manhole cover, like, yo, you should be that should mess you up. And there was a lot of points in which throughout the game, I didn't feel like I was powerful because I'd hit somebody and they would, you know, just eat it. It was just weird in that regard. But other than that, the fighting looked beautiful. Like, Spider-Man is dancing. He's basically like doing this dance, like beating the mess out of people, and it looks so beautiful. It's wonderful. Like, if you're not playing, you would watch and be like, yo, that looks so dope. That looks so cool. Like, he's jumping around and punching, and, you know, one thing that I found really dope was just the fact that when Spider-Man does that perfect dodge, it goes in slow motion, he webs him or whatever. That's so sweet. I was like, yo, that's so dope. So the fighting looks wonderful. Them gadgets, I'll be honest with you. When playing, I didn't use a lot of the gadgets. I didn't. But the gadgets, when they are used, they come in handy, yo. They come in handy. Like, sometimes you gotta use these gadgets. To be so many people, you gotta pull out the gadgets. You gotta get these people going. You gotta get them down, and the gadgets really help out in that regard. The suit abilities, on the other hand, I did not really use. I didn't use them. Other than the... you know, I didn't really use them. No, sometimes I did, but not really. I kind of forgot about them being there. More so, I was just healing and stuff like that. Yeah, I didn't really use suit abilities. So, you know, but they were there. They're great, and you get to mix and match your suits. I'll talk a little bit about that later. Hopefully, I remember. I didn't have that written down, but I'll talk about the suits. The enemy variants, on the other hand, I found them to be, and I'm going to talk about this when I get to the boss battles, really. But the enemy variants, they seemed very run-of-the-mill, and I mean, I wasn't really expecting too much, but there you got the big dude, you got the small thug, you got the people that stop you when you jump in the air and things like that. They're cool, but I guess it was just a little bit too generic. But I mean, I dug it though. I dug it. I liked how you had the prisoners, and you had and this video is gonna have spoilers in it, by the way. You had the prisoners, you had the Silver Sable agents. I liked how they looked. They would look different. There was different enemies, but I felt like it was a little generic in terms of the prisoners and things like that. And when I say that, I'm gonna really get into that later in the video, but it's very apparent, like when you're fighting a boss, and when you're fighting a normal person. And I have this idea that there should be the blending of the two. When you're fighting a boss, it shouldn't be this contrived idea of web, punch, 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 triangle, run away. Like, why can't it be like I'm fighting a normal person, but this is a boss? With that being said, like, I'm actually fighting, like I'm hitting them, they're blocking me, and I have to do different things instead of just the same web, punch, punch, things like that. But other than that, I dug the fighting. To me, people compare it to Batman Arkham. Sure, you can do that if you want. I didn't really get the Batman Arkham vibe from it, not only because of the fact that it's Spider-Man and he's jumping up in the air and defying gravity and stuff like that, but also because it didn't feel as powerful. So I didn't really compare it to Batman Arkham. It definitely felt like its own thing. Is it better than Batman Arkham? I don't really have an opinion on that either. But I loved the fighting in the game, and I felt like Spider-Man. Even though I wasn't that strong, I didn't feel like I was that strong. I felt like Spider-Man. And that's really cool. I really dug that. So then with the web swing, I talked about this in my first impressions, and there's a learning curve, man. I was not anticipating the web swing to be like it was. And if you watch my first impression, that was the first day I had the game. People were like still leaving comments. Venom, you suck at web swing. He sucks at playing the game. He sucks at it. Shut the hell up. Like, stop. What do you... First of all, regardless of if I suck at playing the game or suck at the web swing, I can still have an opinion about it. Second, I don't suck at the web swing. That was my first day playing the game. That was literally 4 hours into the game. I hadn't even been playing the story that much. So, like, the web swing, it had a learning curve, though. I was not anticipating it to be like it was. I was anticipating it to be a little bit more freer, but upon my first putting my hands on the controller, I realized that it's not as free. You're kind of on a track a little bit. You're kind of on a track. But with that being said, you fast. Spider-Man fast as heck. He be zooming through the city. Zooming. They put fast travel in. I mean, sure, some people don't want to have to go all the way over there, but Spider-Man zooms. He is fast as heck, and I love it. It feels so good. It's so fluid. The animations flow together. It's just beautiful. It's really great in that regard. Fluid and all that. But it still does feel like you're on a track. You can't hit the ground. You can't mess up the web swing, which is something that I didn't really like. Like, I would have liked the ability to mess up the web swing, meaning I could hit the ground. But regardless of whenever you press R2, you're not going to hit the ground unless you're right here. Then you're going to hit the ground, and maybe then you still won't. But I love the fact that it looks so good and it feels so good. I just wish that I had a little bit more control, meaning that I could control. Actually, I'm not on this track, because it feels like you're on a track. You can't mess up the swing. You can't do. They control you. They hold your hand a little bit. They say, "Come on, baby, let me take you over here. This way you're trying to go." I just wish they let me go and let me web swing myself. But it looks beautiful. It feels beautiful. This is probably, if not, this is the best web swing in a Spider-Man game. It's just missing that component of being able to mess up, being a little bit freer. But it's still, this is the best web swing in the game, period, dot, in Spider-Man, period. This is the best, which is great. Going to the climbing now. That climbing works, but it's generic, y'all. It's generic. And when I say generic, I mean, it doesn't really come in handy too much. Like, I'm not really utilizing my climbing. I mean, sure, you have the option, but Spider-Man, I feel like there was, at least within the game, and I'll talk about this with the story, or missions, there aren't a lot of moments in which I'm climbing. It's more so I'm web zipping up to an area, that way I can do a stealth takedown, but there isn't any moments in which I'm climbing and things like that. Something else, you can't run down a building. That doesn't make sense to me. Why can't you run down a building? If I was running on a building going up, and then I tried to go down, he doesn't go down. I'm like, why won't he run down the building? That's what I want to do. But whatever. Something else with the climbing is that you can't climb through an overpass or a doorway, which is weird. Meaning, like, if this is a doorway and I'm up here, Spider-Man, I can't. I was like, why is that the case? That's kind of weird, but whatever. And then the other this is not really a big point, but I wrote it down and I do want to talk about it a little bit, was that when you're climbing down a wall in Spider-Man PS1, you're climbing down a wall and you get to that floor, like Spider does a little flip You know, so he'll be like coming down, and then he'll be like that, like flip, put his hands down and flip himself. He doesn't do that in the game, and I want him to do that. He does it, whatever. That's just neither here nor there though. So the gameplay aspect, I love it. It's really fun. The game, it just feels so nice. It feels so good. Are there things that can be worked out? Sure, I'll talk a little bit about that, but it feels so nice. I love it. Visuals now. These visuals, first of all, lacking details. There's details lacking. And when I say lacking details, I'm saying it first because I'm going to go into the positives later, even though you're probably just going to hear what I'm saying now. But my reason for saying this first is so that I can then end this point with positives. When I say lacking details, it's just like when you look at the buildings, you know, there are these pasted images that are three-dimensional images, but when you go to another side of the building, then it's a different image, and it just kind of, to me, messes up I just don't like that. And then, you know, there little details like the reflections, they aren't really there, and sometimes are, sometimes aren't. Those are the two things really with details. And then, you know, it's just those little details that mess me up because I'm like, this is a Spider-Man game. I'm swinging through a city. Like, I'm going to, of course, look at the building. I'm going to, of course, look at this stuff, but whatever. Other than that, the character models, y'all, oh my God. Beautiful. 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 They look so detailed and so great in terms of the characters, how they look, the facial features. They just are great. Oh my gosh. And Spider-Man, that suit, any suit, choose a suit, pick a suit, any suit, beautiful. Beautiful. The one suit that's not beautiful is the Iron Spider suit because it just is ugly to me. It just looks ugly. But regardless of that, like the detail that they put into these suits is immaculate. It is like surreal. It's so good. You can take pictures and it looks like live action. It looks so good. Insomniac, hats off to y'all with the visuals for this game, for the suit. You know, Puddlegate was a Puddlegate, whatever. Did they downgrade some things in terms of the puddles in that area? Yeah, the puddles aren't there, but the game looks stunning. It is beautiful. I'm so happy that there was a Spider-Man game made, a game that deals with my favorite superhero, my favorite fictional character, and it looks this great. And that city, outside of the pasted three-dimensional images inside of the buildings, that city looks so good. And outside of the details missing when you look across the water and things like that, again, lacking detail. But the city that you in, oh, Manhattan looks so good. It looks so great. I was looking like, that's right. That's right. So it looks so good in that regard. Now, let's get to that story, y'all. Generic. It's a generic Spider-Man story, and it really kind of pissed me off because I knew what was going to happen. There was only one shocker in the game, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. I'm pretty sure you know what I'm going to say. And again, I'm spoiling. This is spoilers, but it was very generic, cookie cutter. You know, they didn't do anything different, anything new. I wanted them to take risk. I wanted them to do things differently, and they didn't. They have the whole Mary Jane and Peter Parker not being together, but they want to be together, and they're not together because he's Spider-Man. Honestly, like, you would treat me like a baby. You would never like let me blah blah. It's because he's Spider-Man. He protects you because you would be a damsel in distress. And they even said that you saved my life for the 1,000th time. Like, yes, it makes sense. They should have came up with a bigger reason for them not to be together, for there to be an actual conflict there instead of just, we're not together and we haven't spoken in 6 months, even though we both care about each other and are thinking about each other and love each other. Like, there should be an actual conflict there, and they didn't really do that. And with that being said, why is everyone connected to Peter Parker? And by everyone, I mean the main villains. Why are they connected to Peter Parker? Why you don't have to do that. That it seems unrealistic. It's like in the Raimi franchise, like everybody that's connected to Peter Parker, they become a supervillain or they get powers, things like that. What happened to just the everyday man that got bit by the spider and now he's trying to be a hero and doing da 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 da? Like, it would have been, I think the route, I understand the idea of Otto Octavius being Peter's mentor and all that, but it's like he's the mentor and he becomes a villain, and his mentees, Peter Parker, is also a superhero, and his mentor is going to become a supervillain, and his best friend's father is a supervillain, and his best friend is, I'm like, yo, like, why are you, why can't we just have, and again, it goes with Spider-Man and Peter Parker's worlds collide. Like, they aren't colliding. It's the same world. There isn't a difference between the people that Peter Parker knows and the people that Spider-Man knows. Spider-Man knows Miles Morales' father. Miles Morales meets Peter Parker. Miles Morales' father dies. It's like, yo, like, why there should be a separation. Everybody does not have to be connected to Peter Parker. It pulls me out of the story, and it also makes me, as the gamer, as the audience, go, I know what's about to happen, because I know this story. I know Otto Octavius is going to become Dr. Octopus. I know that Miles Morales' father is a cop. Like, I put it together. I already put it together. I'm like, well, that makes sense. Wow. Okay, fine. Sure. It would be a lot stronger if these characters aren't connected and they meet by way of these circumstances. That's stronger. Then I, as the audience member, am intrigued, number one. Number two, I get new information. It's no longer about me waiting for whatever to happen. It's now about what's going to happen, because Peter Parker doesn't know Otto Octavius. Otto Octavius is this Dr. Octopus dude. What is he doing? Why is this happening? Spider-Man has to find this out. Spider-Man finds out Otto Octavius is going after Norman Osborn. Norman Osborn is Peter's best friend's father. Why is he going after Norman? I think there's more questions. It leaves more questions, and I, as the viewer, am more interested, because now I'm trying to figure out what's going on instead of me just waiting for whatever to happen. So yeah, and I waited for the Venom movie to come out because I wanted to see if there would be an actual connection to the Spider-Man mythos, Spider-Man universe, and there isn't a connection to Peter Parker, which I think is really cool. I think it's really cool for this character to have nothing to do with Spider-Man and then to connect with Spider-Man, even though in the comics that's not how it goes. And the comics version, I really appreciate that. And in the comics, though, not everybody knows each other. But it seems like within the movies and a lot of Spider-Man media, there has to be this connection where everybody knows each other. Like Star Wars, where everybody's in the same family. You know, it's like, okay, what about the world is big. New York is huge. Not everybody is connected to Peter Parker. Sorry. Also, something else that I wanted to talk about was the fact that Aunt May died. And I was like, they killed Aunt May in the first game. Why? For shock value? Why did they kill Aunt May? And to me, I didn't understand. I just didn't get that. I was like, Insomniac, first of all, like, your game, there was no, that didn't need to happen. You killed Aunt May. Why? Like, it didn't, and it wasn't even like it was a shocking thing, but then I just went, why would you kill Aunt May? Like, the game didn't earn it. The game definitely, it didn't, why would you kill Aunt May? And it messed me up from the framework of just it being unnecessary. And it seemed like they just did it to do it. Like, it was like, yeah, we killed Aunt May. That makes our game more, I don't know, edgy or more heart-wrenching, or no, there was no reason to kill her. They didn't earn it. They didn't earn killing Aunt May, in my opinion. And Lucas said that in this video too. I don't think Insomniac earned the right to kill Aunt May in this game. She didn't need to die. And she's a pivotal person in Peter Parker's life. And now she's dead. And I'm like, why? Why would you kill her? So now what is it? I don't know, man. I don't know. I didn't really, that point to me was, I didn't understand the reasoning for it. And me as a Spider-Man fan, like, and Lucas even said this too, I as a Spider-Man fan was affected because I know who this character is in the life of Spider-Man, in the life of Peter Parker. But for me as a gamer, if I didn't know anything about it and I'm playing it, like, why did she die? What, she died because of the virus. I'm not literally saying why did she die. I'm saying, why did they make that choice to kill her? Like, it did nothing. It did nothing. Like, I just didn't feel that at all. Another thing, and this is what I want to talk about the Venom movie as well. I get a little upset when it comes to the mishandling and mismanagement of certain characters pertaining to their stories, because their stories are in the comics and the stories have been told a certain way. And when it comes to media, sometimes the stories are told different. They're told different, and they're told different for the sake of being different. I talk about Ultimate Spider-Man, the TV show, like Venom was Harry Osborn, and I'm like, why is Venom Harry Osborn? That doesn't necessarily make sense to me. I don't get that. Because he's connected to Peter Parker. Like, why are you doing that? That doesn't, to me, I don't feel the justification for them doing that. And when it comes to movies and video games, things like that, these are on a larger scale, meaning there are more people that know about these stories, know about Spider-Man because of the movies, know about Spider-Man because of the game. So when they tell these stories that are different from how they were told in the books, I have a kind of an attachment to how they were told in the books. And when you tell them a certain way on the big screen or in the video games, it muddies that story, meaning some people have a certain interpretation and perception of the story, even though that's not originally how it happened. With that being said, why was the symbiote in the thing with Harry Osborn? Like, I love the idea of Green Goblin and Venom being the two villains in the next Spider-Man game. That is dope to me. I want to see Venom and Green Goblin in the same game. Absolutely. That's beautiful. Take my money. Take it. That's wonderful. But Harry Osborn is not Venom. Don't do that. When it comes to the Venom movie, the one thing that I was thinking about was, they changed a lot. They changed a lot. Eddie he doesn't seem dependent on the Venom symbiote, meaning that if the Venom symbiote was to go away, he would be upset and sad, but he's not going to kill himself without the symbiote. And that's a character thing, a character trait that I enjoyed about the character. It's like his drug. In this game, Harry Osborn is going to be Venom, or it seems, because we don't know, Harry Osborn is going to be Venom because that'll save him or something like that. No, don't. Eddie Brock is Venom. Do Eddie Brock as Venom. Don't do Harry Osborn as Venom. Don't do that. That's not how it's supposed to be, in my opinion. I don't want that. But they're changing, and that kind of irked me. That irked my nerves a little bit. I'm like the idea of Venom, and before I even got to that part, I had the idea that Venom's going to be in the sequel, because was the black suit in the game? No, the black suit is in the game, but we like the black suit. Why isn't the black suit in the game? Because you have plans for that future. That's dumb. But then it's like, so I already had that idea, like, yo, that's going to be great to have Venom and Green Goblin, because Norman Osborn's being set up. Of course, he's going to be the villain in the next game. Dope. Venom, Green Goblin, same game. Take my money. That's wonderful. That's my two favorite villains. Two favorite Spider-Man villains right there. Let's do it. But you're going to make Harry Venom? Don't do that. Don't do that. Have Eddie Brock be Venom. And they could still do it with Mary Jane getting her promotion at the end of the game. Perhaps her and Eddie have something like that. That Eddie is working at the Daily Globe, and, that's her rival, things like that. Maybe, sure. But don't make Harry Venom. Don't do that. That really bothered me. This isn't like me knocking the review or anything, but that's just something that I want to talk about. Don't make Harry Venom. I don't want that. No. Going to the characters, Peter Parker was dope. Yuri Lowenthal did a great job. He really captured the youth of Peter. He wasn't annoying either. I really enjoyed Peter. I really enjoyed him as a character. Mary Jane was cool. I really enjoyed Mary Jane. Albeit, they try to give her things to do. With the gameplay segments and things like that. I'm like, but I like the character. I liked her as a character. Her and Peter Parker, they loved each other from the beginning. I just was like, why aren't you together? Like, it doesn't make sense. But again, that's what the story element, they didn't. I feel like that was a weak point in the story. That writing, creating the reason for them not to be together, to be together didn't make sense to me. Especially when before she sees Peter for the first time in 6 months, she mentions him and then she runs into him. Like I'm like, why aren't they together if they're both thinking about each other? That doesn't make sense to me. Whatever. Miles Morales, I think that they handled him in a good way. It's very not generic. He was very he was there and he served the purpose for being the mirror to Peter Parker. He was cool, I guess. Aunt May, wonderful, but we didn't see that much of her, which was kind of strange. She was there and we saw that she was like a motherly figure to Peter Parker, but outside of my knowing the character, like in terms of the game, there wasn't really much there. And that again, that goes to why did you kill her? Like we didn't really see much of her. Whatever. Mr. Negative, I found his character really contrived and he was just evil to be evil. I got it. He was getting revenge on Norman Osborn, but like there were no redeemable traits to him. Like even when he became Martin Lee, he wrote a letter out to Aunt May, like talking about like, yes, I am the man that did all this and I hope you forgive me. And then the next scene, Peter leaves the feast shelter and there were his goons there about to like jump Peter, basically kill Peter. Only reason Peter didn't die was because he had spider powers. So I'm like, he's just evil. Like there isn't, you didn't, again, that was kind of weak. He's just evil. Otto Octavius, I really dug Otto. I enjoyed his character. I enjoyed his character. I felt like his turn was a bit expected and it wasn't, it happened really quick. When he turned evil, it was just really, I felt like there could have been different ways in terms of his characterization for him to become evil. It was just like, oh, I'm mad now, and oh, the thing is messing with me. There could have been different ways to do that, but I dug the character. I really did dig the character. Norman Osborn, I thought was dope. They tried to go for the Kevin Spacey-esque Norman, and that's really good. I really enjoy. I think. Like, if Kevin Spacey wasn't who he was, that's who I would want to play Norman Osborn. He's dope. So they tried to go that route a little bit. He's not necessarily evil, but he's for himself. And I look forward to seeing more of him. We got him sparingly in this game. Sparingly. I would love to get more of Norman, more of that idea. And also something that was weird to me was the fact that Peter and Harry are best friends, but there's never a conversation about how Harry is doing as it relates to Norman Osborn, basically the assassination attempt. There was no conversation about that. There's no conversation about let's talk to Harry. There's no conversation about Norman is doing all these things. We're seeing that Norman is kind of corrupt or whatever. Well, let's talk to Harry about that. That was never mentioned. That was a little weird for me. Again, that's with the writing and the story. It was just some mismatching, disjointed parts in that regard. Everybody else, though, I think is pretty good. I really dug J. Jonah Jameson, even though we never get the chance to like see him. I dug that. I dug his podcast. And yeah, now to the missions. The Mary Jane missions and the Miles Morales stealth missions, them boys suck, okay? They suck. They do. They're not fun. I try to get through them because I don't want to play them. They suck. So, with that being said, what I want is, if in the future, in the next game, them to take a different approach. Whether if you're going to play as Mary Jane, maybe it's the dialogue tree. Maybe it's me trying to interrogate so-and-so to get information. Maybe it's that. But these stealth missions, and maybe there's the stealth mission and then the dialogue, interrogation. I don't know. But these stealth missions, dead them. Let them die. Let them kill them, please, because they're annoying. The one stealth mission that was interesting was the Miles Morales one, but it was only because of the situation. So perhaps you could do stealth missions as it pertains to the situation, but do them sparingly and Yeah, different gameplay element. Don't do stealth. Don't do that. Side activities are cool. They pad in the game a lot though. And the one thing about this game, it's an easy platinum. Everything is fun to do, but there's a lot of things to do, and I don't feel the substance to do it. Like, I want to do them to a degree because of the web swing aspect, but there isn't there for me. I don't feel like there's a reason for me to do them outside of, like, I just don't get the feeling, the reason to do all of these side missions. And that's one thing. But the missions are fun though; they're really fun. Some of them are, and some of them are tedious. But I wish there was more of a reason to do them, whether that be connected to a story, whether, I don't know, but a lot of the side missions, things like that. And that kind of goes with just some of them being more meaningful. Perhaps if I was fighting crime and things like that, that did translate to missions being a certain way. Maybe if they were all connected, things like that. But I do like where some of the story missions go. They really go to some really interesting places in terms of locations and things you have to do. Like the Halloween mission, that was dope. I really dug the walking around, not being able to use my powers, and being in that world. That was cool. I felt really connected to the world at that level and at that point. That was dope. And that final boss fight on the side of the building was sweet. I feel like there should be that approach to the boss battles, along with boss battles being like fighting normal people. There should be different approaches. It shouldn't be the same, like I said earlier, the same contrived, web, punch, 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 triangle, triangle, like run away. Have them be different in terms, and make, like, the first boss battle should be different. It should be on the scope of every boss battle. If it's not like you're fighting a normal person, like if when you play Batman Arkham City, there's a part where you fight the Joker, and it was so dope. When that camera pulled back and you saw Joker really like do this, as the gamer, I went, you for real? Bet. Like, that to me it feels better than here's a boss battle. Whoom. Now do what you've been doing before. I like this, or let's take this entirely different. You're on the side of a building. Here's Dr. Otto Octavius. You have to, like, maybe, I find those ways of boss battles to be more interesting than web, all that. With that being said, the Electro and Vulture fight, that was dope. That's a great example of kind of what I'm talking about. You're just web swinging around. Even though with that, you still have to web, and you still have to move stuff, throw stuff back at them. But that was a better idea of around that way. The Scorpion Poison, when you were poisoned and you had to web swing around, and it changed the landscape of the city, that was dope. The Rhino fight was run of the mill. It was pretty expected. In terms of how you dealt with Rhino, that was pretty expected. It's the same with the Joker. The Shocker, pretty expected. There should be different ways to handle these villains, and it was just really contrived in those two examples. The Kingpin fight was cool at the beginning. Again, though, perhaps making it more like fighting a normal person. And I don't mean in terms of the difficulty. I mean in terms of the scope. Like, you can actually fight, not just the same web, punch, triangle, run, repeat. Like, that's what I mean. Again, like I talked about with the ideas for boss battles, have it be like you're fighting a normal person, and this normal person is just like strong. This normal person, they'll hit you and it'll take your health down. This normal person, they'll be able to, a combination of all the goons. They have all the goons' abilities, things like that. Don't make it this contrived web, punch, triangle, things like that. This is something else that I have an idea, and then I'm going to end the review because I only have 2 minutes left. Make the gameplay have consequences. So when I talked about earlier, and I'm going to make my video still talking about what I would do. But if you want to have a living world in terms of the game, make the gameplay have consequences, meaning that if you're punching people and you're fighting normal thugs, you have the choice to web them up or knock them out. And depending on what you do, that can affect the world, meaning that can affect other criminals, other things. You knock somebody out, other people may start to run because he just killed that dude. What? Oh no, and that could then echo. Now that makes other criminals either have more weapons, have more guns, things like that. Have the city having a certain opinion about you. You're sending people to the hospital. You're doing this. But if you're webbing them up, maybe Spider-Man is weak. But things like that. That's an idea. I'm gonna make a video talking more about that. But in summation, game was dope. I loved it. I had a ball with it. I had a ball with this game. I loved it so much. There's little things that I've talked about in this video that really, kind of make you go, but it was a great starting off point. Insomniac, they played it really safe. Next game, do it bigger, better, more ideas, innovation. You really need innovation. Do not make the second game be like this one. That's all I got to say. Venom to Man. Like the video if you like the video. Subscribe if you're new. Venom to Man telling you to have a good one. That was pretty quick. How I just summarized all that like that. Peace, y'all. Have a good one. Peace.